Hey everyone! Have you ever noticed your e-learning courses taking longer to load or feeling a bit clunky? One common culprit is oversized images. Today, I'm going to share some best practices for cropping images in Photoshop to optimize your e-learning content. Let's dive right in. So you must be thinking, why do we need to crop images? When we download stock photos, they often come with extra background elements and large file sizes, sometimes up to 25 MB. That's huge for an e-learning course, especially if you're working with 50 or even 100 slides. Incorporating these large images can slow down your course load time and negatively impact the learner's experience. By cropping and resizing images in Photoshop before importing them, we can focus on the key elements we want to highlight and significantly reduce file sizes. This not only makes your courses load faster, but also keeps your projects well organized and efficient. Alright, let's get hands on. I'll walk you through the process step by step, explaining why we are doing each action along the way. First things first, let's open our stock photo in Photoshop. You can right-click the image file, choose Open With, and select Adobe Photoshop. Or simply drag and drop the image into Photoshop. Notice that this image is about 11 MB. That's quite large, and we need to optimize it for our e-learning course. To make this happen, we'll need to select the crop tool. You can do this by clicking the crop icon on the toolbar on the left or simply press the C key on your keyboard. At the top, you'll see options for the crop tool. There's a drop-down menu that might say Original Ratio by default. We want to click that and select W into H into Resolution. Now, the question is, why are we choosing W into H into resolution? As e-learning professionals, we often work with specific slide dimensions to ensure consistency across our courses. By setting exact width, height, and resolution values, we can crop our images to fit perfectly within our slides, without any distortion or extra scaling later on. In the width and height fields, I'll enter 1280 and 720 pixels respectively, which is a standard 16:9 aspect ratio, commonly used in e-learning modules. If your course requires a different resolution, simply adjust these values to match your project specifications. For the resolution, I'll enter 72 pixels per inch, which is ideal for web and screen viewing. By setting these parameters, we are ensuring the image fits perfectly in our slide dimension and maintains optimal quality for screen display. Now let's adjust the crop frame to focus on the part of the image we want. In this photo, I want to place the person on the left side and leave some empty space on the right for text and other elements. But how do we make sure that the composition is visually appealing? This is where Photoshop's overlay guides come into play. Let me show you how to use them. As we have the crop tool selected here, notice a faint grid overlay on the image. Photoshop offers several composition guides that can help you achieve a balanced and aesthetically pleasing crop. Let's explore these options. First up is the rule of thirds. This divides your image into 9 equal rectangles using 2 equally spaced horizontal lines and 2 equally spaced vertical lines. The idea is to place important elements along these lines or at their intersections. It creates a balance and interest in your composition. For our image, I'll align the subject's face with one of the intersection points on the left, which naturally draws the viewer's attention. Next is the grid overlay. This provides a uniform grid over your image. This is useful for precise alignment and symmetry. If you're looking to center elements or ensure that lines in your image are perfectly straight, the grid can be a helpful guide. Now let's switch to the diagonal overlay. This overlay features diagonal lines from corner to corner, intersected by perpendicular lines. By positioning key elements along these diagonals, you can create a sense of movement and dynamism in your image. It's a great way to lead the viewer's eyes through the composition. The triangle overlay splits the image using a diagonal line from one corner to the opposite, creating two right-angled triangles. Additional lines run from the other corners to intersect the diagonal. This guide helps in composing images with a strong sense of balance and can be especially effective when your subject has inherent triangular shapes or when you want to create a stable, grounded feeling. Then we have the golden ratio, a mathematical ratio approximately equal to 1 is to 1.618, often found in nature and considered aesthetically pleasing. This overlay divides your image in a way that's similar to the rule of thirds, but with slightly different proportions. Aligning elements along these lines can enhance the harmony and balance of your composition. Lastly, the golden spiral, also based on the golden ratio, displays a logarithmic spiral over your image. This spiral guides the viewer's eyes towards the focal point of the image. By placing important elements at the end point of the spiral, you can create a naturally compelling and engaging composition. Now let's apply one of these guides to our image. For this example, I'll use the rule of thirds. I'll position the subject so that their face aligns with the left vertical line and their eyes are near the upper horizontal line intersection. This leaves space on the right for text and creates a balanced composition that's pleasing to the eye. Feel free to experiment with different overlays to see which one best suits your image and the message you want to convey. Once you're satisfied with the composition, press the Enter or Return key or click the check mark to apply the crop. By using these composition guides, we've resized the image to the perfect size and also enhanced its visual impact, making it more engaging for our learners. Before we export this image, here's a quick tip. By default, Photoshop retains the pixels you've cropped out, which can keep your file size larger than necessary. To optimize further, you can select Delete Crop Pixels in the Options bar before applying the crop. Be cautious with this option because once you delete these pixels, you cannot recover them later. But if you're sure about your crop, this helps reduce the file size and keeps your Photoshop project clean and lightweight. Now let's look at the export options. Go to the File menu and select Export, and then select Export As. In the Export As dialog, select JPEG as the format. You'll see a preview of your image along with the file size. Adjust the quality slider to balance image quality and file size. For web usage, a quality setting between 60 to 80% is usually sufficient. As you adjust the slider, notice how the file size changes. If you remember, our original image was 11 MB and now it's down to around 100 KB. Fantastic, isn't it? Now, click Export and choose your destination folder and give your file a meaningful name. I'll name mine as croppedimage.jpg. By combining proper image cropping and thoughtful composition of screens, we can enhance the overall quality of our e-learning courses, keeping learners engaged and focused on the content. Remember, these composition guides are tools to help you, but they are not strict rules you must always follow. Feel free to experiment and find what works best for your specific image and context. Also, consider your audience and the purpose of the image within your course. A well-composed image can aid in learning by drawing attention to key elements. Thanks for joining me for this tutorial. I hope you found these tips helpful for your e-learning projects. If there's a specific tip or workflow you'd like to see in future videos, please leave a comment below. Your feedback helps me tailor content that meets your needs. Until next time, happy designing!